Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Owning Leadership Podcast. I'm Marshall Townsend, and this is podcast number 11 called Don't Let It Grow Back. Before we jump into this episode, let's catch up on the last two episodes. We started the journey with podcast number 9, where we talked about the season that most people don't talk about. Not the busy season, not the breakthrough season, the quiet season. It's the season where it feels like nothing's happening, but everything is being built. While other people are out there digging up their garden, chasing the next thing, starting over again and again, consistently moving, you made a different decision to stay, to get still. You chose to go deeper instead of wider. And that's not easy because from the outside, it doesn't look like growth. It looks like you're behind. It looks like you're stuck. But what most people don't understand is that you got to grow your roots before results. Then we jumped in episode number 10, podcast number 10, and we dug into the season that most people avoid, the pruning season. And let's be honest, that wasn't just cutting away bad things. That would have been easier. You had to cut away some good things too. Opportunities, habits, even relationships. Not because they were wrong, but because they were no longer right for where you were going. And that takes courage. Because pruning always feels like a loss before it feels like growth. And now here you are. You did the work. You grew the roots. You cleared the space. But this is where a lot of leaders get stuck. Because after all that effort, they pause. They sit in the space they created. They breathe for a minute. And then slowly, without realizing it, they start to let the weeds come back. Not all at once. Kind of quietly, a little distraction here, a little wasted time there, old habits creeping back in. Even in our thinking, we have doubts. We start overthinking, second guessing what we already decided. And before long, the same space you fought with courage to create starts getting filled again. So let me tell you a quick story. I remember working with a leader and went through this exact process. He stepped back, he got clear. He made some hard decisions and he pruned his schedule down to just a few key priorities. And for a while, it was powerful. He felt focused, in control, and aligned. But a few weeks later, he came back frustrated because he said, I don't understand. I did all the work, but I feel like I'm slipping again. So I asked him a simple question. What did you plant in the space you created? And he just paused because he hadn't planted anything. He had removed, but he had it replaced. And that's the moment it clicked for both of us because empty space doesn't stay empty. It gets filled. Now, here's the truth. If you don't intentionally fill the space, life will unintentionally fill it for you. If you don't plant with purpose, weeds will grow by default. There's not just, not true in the garden. That's true of your calendar, in your mindset, in your leadership. You don't go through a quiet season just to end up distracted again. You don't prune your life just to let the same things grow back. You did that work for a reason. So now the question isn't, what did I remove? The question is, what am I intentionally growing next? Let me give you some practical steps. 4 steps to move forward from here. First of all, identify it. What survived your pruning season? What's still standing that actually matters? Not 10 things, 2 things, maybe 3. Not what sounds good, not what looks good, what is good. Because if everything matters, nothing matters. What's still standing that you value? Number 2, feed it. This is where it gets real. Are you giving your best to what matters the most? Because whatever you feed will grow. Whatever you starve will shrink. And right now, you're feeding something. Is it the thing of value or the empty space? The question is it intentional or are you just going through the motions out of habit? Where your energy goes, your momentum flows. Your life grows. Where your energy goes, your results follow. So step number 2, feed the things of value that you choose to grow. Number 3, anchor it. You cannot rely on motivation to protect what matters. You need structure. If it's important, schedule it. If it matters, build a system around it. You should not have to feel like it to follow through. Lock it into your calendar, build structure around it, make it part of how you operate, not just something you hope kind of happens. This makes it repeatable because anything that is not anchored drifts. And when it drifts, you stop doing it and the weeds begin to grow. And that stops you from getting to step number 4. And step number 4 is grow it. Once you have a system in place, you measure it, you track it, you stretch it. We ask, how do you make this stronger? Because growth doesn't happen by accident, it happens by design. Intentions don't scale, systems do. And when you do this, something shifts. You stop drifting, you stop reacting, and you start leading again. Because now you're not just someone who went through a hard season, you're someone who built something from it. So in closing, let's find some action items. If you were sitting across from me right now and we're having a real coaching conversation, there are 3 questions I would ask you. First, what is the one thing in your life right now that you know deserves more of you than it's getting? What deserves more of you than it's getting? Not someday, not when things slow down, right now. You can write your comments in the chat section, and I'd love to hear from you on this. Second question I'd ask you, what are you willing to stop doing so you can fully invest in the identity you just identified? What are you willing to stop doing? Because you don't need more time. You need more focus. And the third question, what systems are you going to put in place this week to make sure that actually happens? Not intentions, not motivation, a system. Because here's the truth. Nothing changes until something changes in how you show up. You already did the hard part. You got quiet. You got honest. You removed what didn't belong. Now it's time to finish the job. You didn't prune just to feel lighter. You prune to grow stronger. And growth comes from what you choose to multiply next. So don't just walk away from this episode feeling inspired. Walk away with an answer and, more importantly, a decision. Remember, if you don't plant with purpose, weeds will grow by default. So determine now what you choose to double down on, and that will determine everything that grows from here on out. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Marshall Townsend with the Owning Leadership Podcast.